That IPAC meeting the Electoral Commission called to have taken place at noon today has now been called off. Crosby Annan is our correspondent on the ground. Let's learn why that is the case. Crosby, good afternoon to you. Do we know why the meeting will no longer hold?
Good afternoon to you too, but unfortunately we do not know why this IPAC meeting, which was originally scheduled at noon today, did not hold. Now we got the contact meeting will happen at noon today. It was corroborated by the Director of Elections of the NDC, Dr. Omanebuama, indeed in a Facebook post. But upon reading here, we got to know that the IPAC meeting has been cancelled. We did not sign a political party representative. Usually at these meetings you find 2 reps from all the political parties. None of them was around, maybe because they got wind that the meeting will not hold. So the IPAC meeting was cancelled. However, we also got information that the Commission will be meeting the media or a press engagement at 1 p.m. That is an hour after the IPAC meeting, which did not hold. So at the moment, that is what we're waiting for. In a few minutes, it will be 1 o'clock. Hopefully, the press engagement with the Electoral Commission start on time. And we expect a lot of the issues that have dominated discussions over the past couple of days. We're talking about the recollating exercises and the matters arising, the positions taken by the NDC that they will not, if you like, respect the recollated numbers and the new members of parliament that have been declared for these 7 constituencies, but the 2 constituencies. I'm talking about Domi Kwabiya and Abdul. The Commission is also hopefully expected to answer questions as to the way forward of these 2 constituencies and what going forward the entire position of the Commission will be in relation to these other recollated constituencies, bearing in mind the position taken by the National Democratic Congress. So these are amongst some of the issues that we hope the Commission will discuss or open up for the media to ask questions about and provide answers to since the IPAC meeting did not hold ceremony.
Very well, Crosby. We'll leave you to it now. Thank you so much for the reporting. Crosby Annan is at the Electoral Commission's head office, where an expected engagement between the media and the Electoral Commission is to take place.
Well, still on the Commission, they've justified the decision to recollect results in some contested constituencies during the December 7 general election. The EC, following a court ruling on Friday, recollated results in 7 constituencies, including Tema Central and PAA KWESI Central, and redeclared the NPP parliamentary candidates as winners. Deputy EC Chair Bosman Osare, in an interview or exclusive with my colleague Beatrice Edu for Agenda, has been explaining why.
We are very hopeful that we'll get it done way before.
Doc, are you able to tell us which part of the CI 127, the constitutional instrument you used for this year's general election, it was the same you used in 2020? Where in that CI that permits the Electoral Commission to recollect results and redeclare winners of parliamentary elections after they've already been declared in the constituencies?
The Constitution, Article 45, says that of all the institutions in Ghana, it's only the Electoral Commission of Ghana which is mandated to conduct and supervise. And when you are supervising the process, if the process doesn't go well, you raise issues and you address the processes. Apart from that, we have CI 127. CI 127 Regulation 43. It provides that when you are doing collation, each candidate is supposed to have 2 agents at the collation center. So anytime there are encroachers at the collation center, it undermines what the law says. Apart from Regulation 43, Regulation 48 also talks about even when agents are not present, the collation can still take place. And the 43 I mentioned, it provides some steps to be followed when you are doing the collation. So once those steps are not followed, and you have an instance whereby somebody is compelled against his or her will, or under duress to declare somebody a winner, that is not acceptable as far as the Commission is concerned.
So that is the word of the Electoral Commission saying that your officers there were under duress?
No, it's not the word of the Electoral Commission. It's the word of our officers.
Your officers claimed that they were under duress?
No, you said they claimed.
Yes,
No,
that's what
they
you're
said
saying.
they were under duress.
Let's take it step by step, Doc. You still haven't answered the question of which part of the allows the Electoral Commission to recollect results of constituencies and to
No,
redeclare.
I think I mentioned, let me come back. I said CI 127, Regulation 43. It provides the framework for collation. So any collation that does not follow that process is unacceptable.
And I will read that very briefly. It says that the returning officer ensures figures from polling stations are corrected and tallied. But then it goes on
Read
to
that one.
say...
The returning officer ensures what?
The returning officer ensures the figures from all polling stations are correctly tallied. Once verified and accepted, a returning officer completes the constituency collation form and declares result. Now, you declare the total number, valid, rejected, and all of that, after which, and there's a part of it where it says that when there is a problem or there's a contestation, the EC may recount at that instant. But it didn't say that after there has been, for instance, after you've passed that stage and you have declared the winner.
What you just read, you said the returning officer must put together all the polling station
results.
Yes,
but I'm arriving at a result. I'm just saying that after you have declared the winner, I didn't see anything in the CI that said that after declaration is done, you go back and say that because there were these previous challenges, we are going to redeclare winner.
Now, let me say this. We have officers, returning officers for each constituency. The same people who declared the results you are claiming they declared said no, that's not what transpired. And that at a gunpoint, at a knife point, I was compelled to declare a winner who didn't win.
Our cameras were there. I don't remember we reported that they put knives and
did you watch the
like I told you, let's have a quick conversation with lawyer Alasan Osman on this statement that has been issued by the EC. Good morning, and I hope you're well.
Good morning.
It's been quite a while since we spoke, but this morning we've seen a statement from the Electoral Commission where they are saying, and that's their justification, that it's not the first time recollation is being done, that it happened especially in 2004 on many occasions under Dr. Kojua Farijan. Is this a good justification for the recollation exercise that many people continue to raise issues with?
You see, the Electoral Commission is manifesting an attitude that is raising too much suspicion. And I don't think she gets it. Now, if there's a precedent, does it make it right? And we are not, nobody is concerned about the history of the event. Everybody is concerned about the causes of the event. Why the recollation? Because, you see, when she recounts the history of the recollation that happened in the past, she alleged to have happened in the past, she didn't give us the circumstances under which the recollation was done. We are concerned about the conditions, the circumstances under which she is doing the recollation. And secondly, we have different regimes of elections over time. At the time of Afarijan, there was no CI 127. Though, of course, there was PNDC Law 284. And so, if you want to justify recollation by a recourse to historical antecedents without giving us the circumstances under which those recollations were made, she's not doing Ghana she's doing Ghana a disservice, actually. Because if recollation, if collation of election results are done and declarations are made, and you come back and tell us that, okay, the recollation were not complete, one, or there was duress, your officials were compelled to make the declaration in certain circumstances, they wouldn't have done it, but for the duress. Now, all these things are allegations that might have been brought to your notice. The electoral commissioner or the electoral commission chairperson was not at the polling station. He was not at the constituency collation centers, and definitely not at the regional collation centers. And so whatever information she had about the circumstances of declaration or collation or even counting would be information from another person. And so if you want to get at the truth of what should cause a remedy to the declaration if it is wrong, you need to hear all sides. In any event, the reasons for which the regulations are being done are reasons I believe shouldn't have taken place or couldn't have taken place with the presence of the National Security Task Force, the Election Security Task Force. And two, there were media people at the centers where those allegations were made. And so the question is, how did it happen in the presence of the security that she is now calling to provide security for recalling? Because at the collation there was security. If the security could not prevent what had happened for her to be doing recollation, why is he calling, or was she calling, for security for recollation? No, there are so many questions to be answered than just referring us to historical antecedents. And so the history, even if it happened, doesn't answer to the questions people are raising about this recollation. Now, but quite apart from that, even if it happened in the past and it is not legal, just as we had it in the parliamentary issues, there were precedents which the speaker followed. I mean, excuse my digression. But when this current speaker followed it, they said no, both of them were wrong. And the Supreme Court actually said both of them were wrong. So history actually does not make something right. The question is it right for recollation to be done after a declaration is made and a particular candidate is declared the winner of the election? That is the question. Is it right? Is it legal? For me, the other constituencies or other places where the collation couldn't, the declaration were not done. If you are continuing with recollation, it might make sense to me. But after the declaration, then you come back and say that no, because of ABC, the very official who should be telling us who won, told us and come back and told us that another person won. Now this raises too much suspicion that just historical antecedents cannot answer. Now, if you look into our laws, of elections, you would see clearly that all the allegations the woman is making for calling for recollation are dealt with by the law. And she is not the one to do it. She is not the one to determine any wrong or any mistake of collating that will warrant a recollation. That's number one. And number two, she has no authority to even determine the remedy. Recollating is a remedy. Now, what if the cancellation was required? What if cancellation was required? Can she cancel the results of the polling stations or the constituency? She cannot. The remedies are given in law, and the authority to determine those remedies are also given. But you see, we still have a continuous endorsement of the court to these wrongdoings. And now we can't fault the Electoral Commission because a court had given an order that the recollation be done. Under what circumstances, I don't know. Because I'm just imagining what allegations will be made before that High Court judge for him or her to make an order that a recollation be made. Because any allegation of irregularity of the election cannot be raised in any proceeding except by an election petition, which is supposed to be issued only within 21 days of the gazetting of the results. Except that you are making allegations about corruption and bribery and treating, where the cause of action with the 21 days will start counting from the date that the corruption and bribery happened. But when it comes to declaration, when it comes to collation and all those things, you need, because you are challenging the validity of that declaration that was made. And the only place to challenge the validity of that is the High Court by a petition, which will go through a normal trial. Evidence will be taken to determine all those instances or all those allegations that are made to challenge the irregularity or the validity of the declaration. And so all parties will have the opportunity to be heard and to give evidence to support their positions with regard to it. Now you are alleging certain irregularities, and the parties who are interested are denying those allegations, and you decide to ignore them and proceed with the information your officials brought to you from the constituency collation centers and polling stations to do their recollation. And this court, after seeing all these things, also made an order that a recollation should be made. It's really unfortunate. I don't know what you see. We are doubling too much in partisan politics. That is driving us towards a very dangerous abyss if we are not already in it. Because, and this is being propelled by judiciary, and this is worrying. Because there is a regular path, there is a regular procedure for determining and declaring invalidity of election or declaration. In fact, one of the remedies that a High Court can give after hearing allegations of irregularity or after hearing the allegations of the validity of an election or declaration is actually to declare the person who did not win a winner if the evidence shows so. And one of the remedies is to confirm the declaration. And the other remedy is actually to cancel the whole election and order perhaps a rerun of the election in those areas. Now, but if you go to the recollation, if you order a recollation after hearing what you shouldn't hear, for me, I think the High Court even had no jurisdiction to have entertained that application once it contains allegations that seek to invalidate the election of a particular parliamentary candidate. Because everything is wrong. The time is not due because the gazetting was not done. And secondly, it was not by a petition. And the Supreme Court has said quite recently, has struck down allegations of election validity that were made even in human rights actions by the most reverend by Chachichikana. So why would you be making allegations in any proceedings regarding validity of election? And the High Court was entertaining such. In fact, entertained that they made an order for recollation. Meanwhile, a recollation is not one of the remedies stated in law to resort to if there is a determination that there is electoral irregularity. It is not. Recollation is not one of the remedies in PNDC Law 284, which is the main enactment governing. So it is not about whether it happened before, and it is not. It is all about whether it is legal and the circumstances under which it is being done. Why is it being done? We need to know, because when it comes to the why, it seems only the Electoral Commission chairperson has that information, because every other party to the process is making a completely different allegation. That clearly calls for the determination by the courts. You know, and so for me, to your question, reference to historical antecedents does not answer. It doesn't answer the questions that are being raised about this particular recollation, especially that after the recollation, almost all, if not all, were declared in favor of the party who was not declared at the beginning. Or they were declared by the MPP candidate. When in actual fact, the initial declaration was for the NDC. What accounted for that? What accounted for the difference in the results? You know, but you see, things happen. You know, and I think that, you know, in 2020, the Electoral Commission at with regards to the election in Tachman South, produced thing sheets in court that were completely different from the duplicates that were given to the PCs at the constituency collation centers. They were presented in court, and the same judiciary. You know, it's worrying. Now, the person who has a duplicate that was given to him by the Electoral Commission, which shows that a certain candidate won. Now they brought completely different pink sheets that contain completely different tally of electoral results. And it was like, no, this was not what we collated at the collation center. But the High Court upheld the one that was brought by the EC, claiming that the EC is a public official in charge of pink sheets. And so what the EC has done should be presumed as regularly done. Yes, of course, in law, if a public officer does something, there is a presumption that it is regular. But that presumption is rebuttable if there is evidence to show that that official performance is actually irregular. And for me, for another person who is unconnected, unrelated to pink sheet, to have a collation result, a duplicate of collation, which has a signature and everything of the Electoral Commission official, and yet you don't see that as a rebuttal, that becomes an issue. And that is what they are riding on to do this very one. Because now, if they do the recollation with any other data or tally on any different pink sheet, you go to court, the same thing will be followed. So which means that it is the Electoral Commission who has the unbridled right to produce accurate pink sheets. And which means that the provision of the law that make requirements for giving parties to the election duplicates is useless. Because if I have the duplicate and it cannot be upheld in court because it is at variance with what the EC provides, then what's the use?
You see.
But that's going to happen in these elections. I'm telling you. I want to believe that it is not the same thing sheets that were used to do the recollation by the EC. But I am hoping that the parties would have their pink sheets and the duplicates of their pink sheets, because in most of the instances, in some of the instances, they say the pink sheets were destroyed, they were burnt. And so, how are you going to proceed with the collation? How are you going to proceed with recollation? In such places, we expect that at least a court should have the opportunity to order a rerun of the election for those areas. That's the only thing that can give us a correct rendition or result of the election in those areas. Now, if you have some of the things destroyed, and now at this time nobody can trust that the ballot boxes from which the counting was made are still intact, because even during the election we have also seen videos, just as the EC claimed she has seen, of ballot boxes being hidden at places and ballot papers being destroyed and all those kind of things. So how are we going to assure ourselves that even if the recollation were to be done in circumstances where the princes are destroyed, counting of the ballot can save us? No, we can't trust that. So which means that in some of those places, the only thing that would be fair to do was for them to rerun the election. But the only authority that can do so is the court. So which means the Electoral Commission is alleging a wrong, and it is presenting a remedy, and all of them, the remedy is not in law, and the remedy is not even appropriate. So for me, I would want to know the details of the recollation and how come the figures became different, and if we had polling stations who were not accounted for in the initial collation, what are the pink sheets of those polling stations saying, and where are they coming from for the recollation? Do we have them? Those are the questions we should be asking. And if all were completed and there's a need for recollation, in fact, Dome Kwabinya, for instance, I heard the recollation is necessary because one of the parties was not present at the declaration or so. I mean, how can this be a reason for recollation? You know, and now the final thing is the inconsistency of this Electoral Commission chairperson. The inconsistency is becoming tangible, and I don't think she has any integrity left in her. Because, look, even in 2020, we had allegations that, okay, well, you go and see a parliamentary candidate and have a discussion with him on these issues and come back. Before the people could pretend there was a declaration. Now, these were allegations made, and for which he was protected from entering the box to. And you see, the election is all about integrity and honesty and sincerity, especially of the referees. Okay, now you tell us in 2020, irrespective of these historical antecedents, that a call for recollation in Tachiman South was not possible because once declaration was made, a court must pronounce a remedy if there is any allegation of irregularity. But what has changed? And I hear that, the distinction between the two is just that these ones in Tachimansa it was complete, and then this list they are not complete. But the point is the very duress that they are alleging today was also alleged in Techiman South. So how come that did not form the basis for recollation? And in fact, the answer of the Electoral Commission chairperson to that allegation was that they should go to court. So why the inconsistency? And you see, it's creating the impression that the Electoral Commission chairperson is becoming more aggrieved for the loss of the MPP party than the MPP members themselves.
More aggrieved?
Yes, that's the impression it's creating. Because it's in all defense, obvious defense of all the places that the MPP has lost. Why must it be so? You know, and for me, the inconsistency is telling. You know, dishonesty. You go hold a press conference or had a podium in which you tout the 2020 election as one of the best elections that we had ever had since the Fourth Republic. Meanwhile, what had happened in that election is contradictory to that statement. We had lost 8 people live in that election. We had had a whole constituency not represented for 4 years in parliament. We had had those people prevented from participating in parliamentary elections. And we had had a declaration of presidential results more than 3 times. Until date, we don't know the real figure, the real margin of victory of the winner. And then you go and tout this. So, you see, I am just giving you instances of the impression that the EC chair has created to give us reason to doubt her integrity and her sincerity in the conduct of election. So, for me, these historical antecedents do not answer because the historical antecedents were there for her even in 2020. Why didn't she rely on that to do a recollation for Techiman South and the other places that there were skirmishes? And finally, you can see that it is not all the places where there were issues with the collation or where there were violent interruption of the collation or of the process that she is calling for the recollation. What happened to Damango? Because that seat was declared for Abu Jilapo, that should not be part of the recollation. Is that the reason? Because we actually also saw videos